Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. If you've been watching the news, you know that many of America's most prominent journalists spent the day on the hunt for white supremacists in our midst. They seem highly agitated about that. Why are they so worried? Oh, come on, you know. White supremacist mobs burned our country down. They spent the summer torching buildings and shooting people in Minneapolis, Kenosha, Portland, Seattle, many other places across the land. It was the worst domestic terrorism in this country in more than 50 years, and white supremacists did it. We'd better find them. Check under the bed. Just kidding. That was a joke, obviously, though not every reporter in Washington got it. Some of them actually believe their own propaganda. They're too dumb to operate an easy pass, but they're telling you the news. It's a problem. Let's hope that when this revolution finally does end, someone fixes our newsrooms. In the meantime, though, take a moment to consider why their bosses are demanding they tell you something that's so obviously dishonest. Think hard. Why do people lie? Why do you lie? You lie when you're caught doing something you don't want to admit you've done. I didn't eat the Oreos, Bobby did, you say as you wipe the crumbs from your face. You lie to divert attention from your own crimes. That's what's happening here. This summer, a political organization aligned very closely with the Democratic Party wrecked our cities. That group is called Black Lives Matter. Here's some of what they did. We don't have to guess about who did all of what you just saw. This wasn't exactly a stealth operation. The rioters proudly announced who they were and what they wanted. Just a few weeks ago, a guy with a not very subtle BLM tattoo on his neck assassinated a Trump supporter in Portland. In Louisville, Kentucky, a man who promoted BLM propaganda on social media tried to murder 2 police officers. In Chicago, a self-described BLM activist defended looting as a form of reparations.
They get upset when people start looting. People in this city are struggling through a pandemic. So I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That makes sure that that person can make some kind of money, because this city obviously doesn't care about them. Not only that, that's reparations.
Yeah, that's reparations. Cleaning out the Nike store. So no matter what they tell you, and they're telling you a lot of things, BLM is not a mainstream organization. Just 5 years ago, the Democratic Party acknowledged that. In the fall of 2015, in an internal memo to House candidates, a senior Democratic Party official described BLM as, quote, a radical movement. And for a reason. That July, dozens of BLM activists stormed the stage at a Bernie Sanders event. They chanted slogans like, "If I die in police custody, burn everything down." The next month, the proto-BLM group stormed another Sanders rally. They seized his microphone and denounced the attendees as racists and white supremacists. You may remember it. It seemed scary at the time, including to Democrats. They asked why Sanders didn't have Secret Service protection. These people were so extreme they regarded Bernie Sanders of Vermont as a Nazi. So Democrats understood there was no reasoning with them. There wasn't a point. Now, the Democratic Party embraces BLM. Democrats incorporated BLM talking points directly into their party platform this summer. You didn't hear much about that in news coverage of the convention, just like you probably didn't hear anything about Kamala Harris's speech to the NAACP this Friday. The media just didn't have time to tell you about it. There were too many of those rioting white supremacists to hunt down, and that's a shame, because you should know a lot more about Kamala Harris, a lot more. Kamala Harris is 22 years younger than Joe Biden is. So if Joe Biden wins next month, at some point, possibly sooner than we expect, Kamala Harris will control the White House, the federal government. And that is a concern, because very few people in the Democratic Party, certainly at her level, have pushed BLM's message more aggressively than Kamala Harris has. Here she was on Friday.
Black Lives Matter has been the most significant agent for change within the criminal justice system, because it has been a counterforce to the force within the system that is so grounded in status quo and in its own traditions, many of which have been harmful and have been discriminatory in the way that they've been enforced.
We're quoting, Black Lives Matter has been the most significant agent for change within the criminal justice system, says Kamala Harris, and she said it as a compliment. She was praising BLM when she said that. So what kind of change is BLM pushing for? What exactly is their prescription for changing our justice system? Well, we could tell you, but maybe you wouldn't believe us. So instead, we're going to play you tape from Patrisse Cullors. She's one of the founders of BLM. Here's what she said this summer.
Until and unless our leaders become signatory to the BREATHE Act, to legislation that eliminates the federal government's ability to give multi-million dollars to grants to militarized police forces, dismantles punitive policings like ICE, Border Patrol, and the DEA, ends the use of surveillance systems being used to target protesters, and bans the use of police agencies to suppress political dissent, the Democratic Party of today will be remembered as the party of complicity.
So dismantle ICE and the DEA. That means no more drug enforcement, no more border enforcement. That's the change Kamala Harris is endorsing. Again, we're not making it up. We just showed you the tape. She said that on Friday, not 30 years ago in college, on Friday. Eliminating law enforcement agencies, entire federal agencies, may be a lot of things. It is not a moderate position. It is a radical position. Kamala Harris is a radical person. Doesn't matter what she seems like. It doesn't matter how soothing her words may sound. If you listen to what they mean, they're radical. Here's Kamala Harris on Friday describing the founders of BLM.
Nothing that we have achieved that has been about progress in this country has come without a fight. Mm-hmm. Nothing that we have achieved in our country that has been about progress, in particular around civil rights, has come without a fight.
Ooh. So she used one word twice in that clip. What was that word? It was fight. Kamala Harris likes people who fight. She likes fighting. These people are brilliant, says Kamala Harris, but most of all, they like to fight. And she's right. Patrisse Cullors certainly does like to fight. Cullors is a self-described Marxist. She's not afraid to defend looting on television. In fact, she's happy to. Watch her do it.
The protests have been overwhelmingly peaceful, but there is a media focus on looting.
We are very obsessed with property damage. Property damage is seen as sort of like the pinnacle of destruction and violence. And we rarely hear the media focus on police violence or police terror.
Just another brilliant friend of Kamala Harris's, someone who likes to fight. In any other year, a vice presidential candidate who openly supported people like this, endorsed them from the stage, that would be a major national scandal. It might be enough to get Kamala Harris bounced off the ticket. But not this year, not in 2020. No one's saying a word about it. They're hoping you won't notice.